And now it's my distinct pleasure to introduce Dr. Arielle Schwartz. Arielle is a PVI course partner, psychologist, internationally renowned teacher, yoga instructor, and really a leading voice in the healing of PTSD and complex trauma. She's an author of 5 books and an accomplished teacher who guides therapists in the applications of EMDR, somatic psychology, parts work therapy, and mindfulness-based interventions for the treatment of trauma and complex PTSD. Thank you so much for being with us here, Arielle, on our New Year's journey of self-care.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody, and welcome. What an absolute privilege to be able to be here with you and to offer a nervous system informed care for our bodies and our minds and a yoga practice. And I love that you're using the chat to just say where you're coming in from. We clearly have a really beautiful, full community, over 400 people in our Zoom meeting so far. And if you aren't on gallery view, I actually will invite you to take a moment just to pop in to gallery view. And you can toggle that on the upper corner. For me, it's the upper right corner. If you're on a computer, if you're on a laptop or on an iPad, I don't know how to tell you, but toggle over to gallery if you know how, and just give a beautiful polyvagal smile wave, a nice just ventral moment of connection to our community. Hello. Oh, that feels so good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So many familiar faces in our Zoom, people that we've been together and practiced together in Potsdam and in North Carolina and around the world. And just so grateful. So hello, hello. I am so happy to be here. Clearly, I'm just like beaming at the moment because I just have a lot of joy. I really want to thank our Polyvagal Institute community for hosting this one. As many of you know, because a lot of you practice regularly with me on Saturdays, that this is my home studio. This is my personal practice. I love to share it with you, and I love to bring our communities together. A few things to say before we dive into practice. One is that for those of you that are used to practicing with me regularly, we usually have an hour and a half. Today we have an hour, so it'll be a little bit shorter, but it'll be sweet and it'll be beautiful. Secondly, for those of you that are new to how I teach and what I practice, I just want to give a few frames for what to expect. First of all, you are your own best teacher. I'm going to share a mat-based practice that some of which is going to be super gentle and easily adaptable to your bed, to your couch, to wherever you might be practicing from. I'm going back over to gallery for me, but there we are. So, right, wherever you want to practice from, you make this practice yours. And at any point throughout the practice, you might say, "Ooh, that was enough for me. I'm going to rest," and just allow the rest of the practice just to kind of wash over you and support you in your restful state. There will also be a few opportunities for standing postures and for some flow, and we're going to get our heart rate moving, and we're going to go into that beautiful hybrid of the sympathetic in service of play and empowerment and joy. So we'll find a little bit of that on our mats if that serves your body. And most importantly, listen to your own cues, that kind of neuroceptive awareness of what is right for you. If some of the language that I'm using here is new for you, come take our Polyvagal-informed yoga classes, or you can read my books on that manner. This isn't a teaching piece today, more just a practice and an opportunity to be in community. So once again, honor your breath, honor your pace as we go. Whenever we go into postures, we're not trying to perfect anything. This is an opportunity for you to use a shape of your body and to invite how it feels to greet that shape. Let a shape support you and discover a little bit more about yourself along the way. So there's no goal to achieve. I will invite you again and again to follow your instincts, to make this practice a unique expression of you and hopefully an opportunity to have some fun together. So one more thing that I'll name here at the beginning is that Ian aims to participate in decolonization efforts. I want to acknowledge the recency of yoga in the West, and certainly where I stand in the United States, as compared to the extensive history in India or Bharat. And just to really honor the root system of the yogic tradition, and how when we really tune into that root system, it allows our yoga tradition to flourish. So, thank you. I also want to honor today that given that we're coming in from all parts of the world for this practice, that there may be some tenderness going on. There's a lot happening in our world right now. Fires in California, earthquakes, snowstorms, Arctic blasts, whatever might be impacting you on a personal level and on a collective level. And today's focus for our class is going to be an emphasis on how we can use yoga to support what I'll refer to as the hero or heroine's journey toward post-traumatic growth, kind of through traumatic or stressful or painful life events, and to know that yoga can help us really work with grief and work with those stuck places and those tender places and find that hero or heroine within. Some of you know that I created last year a card deck that's called the Post-Traumatic Growth Card Deck, and that it's an arc of the hero or heroine's journey through photographs and through chosen paragraphs that accompany each card. So I've chosen for today Your Hero's Journey as the card for today. And I'll read to you what is the accompanying phrase for that. And this card deck goes with the Post-Traumatic Growth Guidebook. So this is a segment from that book. A hero's journey involves going into a dark night of the soul on a quest for wholeness. The hero enters the darkness, faces challenges, slays the dragon, retrieves the treasure, and emerges with gifts to share with the world. Traumatic events often initiate this process. The dragons are the inner demons that remain as a result of those difficult events. And the treasures that you seek are the inner strength and the wisdom, which give you an enhanced sense of meaning or purpose. It is impossible to go back to the old ways of living. This is a process of self-discovery, a requisite redefining of your life. So maybe take a breath with that one. Yeah. And I have chosen a poem for today that's a little bit of a softer leaning in and a way to attend to that tenderness and to know that very much what we are moving toward, and I'm just going to put a link to that deck in here in case you're curious, but what we're moving toward is how do we open ourselves up to life wholeheartedly, knowing that adversity can and will happen. How do we stay open and embrace life anyway? Right? That doesn't mean that we're going to, ultimately deny the pain, right? It's about how do we learn to live in relationship to it. And for me, my yoga practice helps with that journey tremendously. And so here is our poem for today. And it's called The Thing Is by Ellen Bass. To love life, to love it even when you have no stomach for it, and everything you've held dear crumbles like burnt paper in your hands. Your throat filled with the silt of it. When your grief sits with you, its tropical heat thickening the air, heavy as water, more fit for gills than lungs. When grief weights your own flesh, only more of it, an obesity of grief, you think, how can a body withstand this? Then you hold life like a face, a plain face. You hold life like a face between your palms, a plain face. No charming smile, no violet eyes. And you say, yes, I will take you. I will love you again. Allowing yourself to bring these words, whatever fits, whatever you refine, love the dragon, all of it, just allow yourself to allow this to sift through your own consciousness and come back to your body. Come back home to the felt sense of you in this moment. Noticing your own state of mind, jumping, racing, settled, focused, heavy, grieving. And know that all of you is welcome here in whatever state you come. And allowing yourself, as you fine-tune awareness of body, of breath, to perhaps find your own chosen words of intentionality for this time that we have together. When we think about a hero, I want to just remind us that the hero is vulnerable. They're not invulnerable, right? That tends to be the villain in the story, right? The hero is humble, not guarded, but they're strong and open. So perhaps some of those words resonate as well. And I'll offer up the words courage. I am courageous as my intention for today's practice. And from here, if you're not on your yoga mat, you're welcome to transition there. I'm going to start a little close in to the screen as we get going. I'll invite you to bring your hands together and palm to palm, just making some contact. Sensing and feeling the giving and receiving of your very own touch. And then perhaps bringing your hands to your face and just greeting that experience, holding your own plain face. No charming smile, just greeting yourself as you are. Maybe smoothing from center of forehead out towards your temples, across your cheekbones, towards your ears. Perhaps coming down, shoulders to elbows. And allowing yourself to both be the giver and the receiver of your very own touch. Beautiful. And our next layer of practice is to bring in the Ujjayi pranayama. That breath practice has a audible quality, and we'll start with ha-kara breath. A ha-kara is a ha sounding, it's like fogging up a mirror. And it's waking up the whisper muscles of the throat and waking up through the ear, the listening to the sound of the breath. Inhaling here. Once you find that feeling of the breath, that waking up of the throat, maybe taking that breath in and out of your nose to create Ujjayi. Translates as the victorious breath. And listening close to the sound of the breath as a way to start to draw your attention inward. That listening close so that you can really honor your body, your sensations as teacher along the way. And continuing with your breath, I'm going to go ahead and make my way onto the mat. I am going to pin myself and make sure that you find your way in. All right. So we're going to stay with this Ujjayi pranayama, and we're going to bring it into our first movement. So we'll call this revolving Ujjayi, and allowing yourself to experience this movement as pretty intuitive. So it's a rotational movement, upper body around your legs, your pelvis. And it's your rhythm, your breath. I'll invite you to inhale forward, exhale as you scoop back, and allowing your navel to draw toward your spine on that exhale, giving a little bit of massage across your digestive organs. And then going in the opposite direction. And with each and every movement, you get to fine tune. Maybe it's a very small rotation. Maybe the breath is deeper. You find your pace. Beautiful. And then when you feel even coming back to center, our next breath practice is to experiment with bringing one palm over your belly, the other over your heart, and to begin to bring your breath down across the diaphragm into low belly. So we're stretching the breath just as much as we might stretch the body a little bit later. And exhale here. Next breath, we're going to send the breath into the lower hand and stretch as we bring the breath into your chest, into your upper hand. And then as you exhale, exhale chest, belly. Inhale, filling belly across your rib cage into your heart center. And exhale down. Beautiful. And you might begin to notice that this movement of breath begins to translate a little bit into some subtle movement of your spine. So that as you inhale, you might lengthen your spine. And as you exhale, you might go into a little bit of spinal flexion, a curling forward. And you get to find the range of that motion with your breath. Again, this can be seated in a chair, on your couch, in your bed, greeting the edges of the breath, feeling what is it like for you to fill all the way to the top, maybe an extra sip in, and to exhale to completion, to emptiness. Following this breath and movement, and an opportunity to add on if it feels right for you. Perhaps experimenting with allowing your arms to open, expand on the inhale, and to exhale, come back into that contraction. Finding the range that serves you. And allowing yourself just to tune in. What is your body needing? How does it feel to honor the contracted places? Maybe you pause there. Maybe you give it a sound. What is it like for you to give space for yourself in the expansion? Maybe you pause there. Experiment with opening your side bodies, your gaze. And then a few more breaths in your rhythm, letting this become uniquely yours. It doesn't have to look like anything in particular. Certainly doesn't have to look like what I'm doing. Beautiful. And then a pause for a moment, just to sense and feel, let your awareness arrive into this moment again, sensing subtle or not so subtle shifts that happen throughout your practice. And an invitation to take hands to heart center. This time we'll find a gentle twist. I call this the heart twist, and allowing yourself to follow with your gaze one hand as it comes away from center and back to your heart, and switching sides. Now, for this practice, you get to experiment with how do you want to breathe in the shape. Maybe you want to inhale as you reach away. And exhale to center. Maybe you find the opposite. Explore, what does it feel like to exhale as you reach? And to inhale back to your heart. See which feels intuitive and follow that rhythm. Beautiful. One more time each side. And when you feel even, coming back to center, this time an invitation just to roll out through your shoulders. One direction and the other. Letting go of perhaps some of the tension that accumulates there, or maybe simply sensing it. Okay, and then letting yourself find a little rotational movement around your elbows. So your forearms can go in one direction and the other way. So these are short movements. We don't stay in these rotations too long. That's waking up through the joint system. And then an invitation to take your hands in one direction and the other way. Beautiful. And then let that go. Maybe even shake out through your arms for a moment. And we'll come into our legs. So we're going to continue with some rotational movements. I'll invite you to lean into your left hip enough to free your right leg. And again, this can be done anywhere, chair, couch, bed, or yoga mat. And go ahead and take your foot in gentle circles in one direction. And that might be super small, subtle circles, might be broader. And then we go the other way. Beautiful. And then just like we did with forearms, now it's your shin, your lower leg around your knee, going in one direction. Maybe a few snap, crackle, pops, and the other direction. So these rotational movements in the yogic tradition are called the Pavanmuktasana series. I'll invite you to take nice wide hold on your leg and just find some gentle hip circles in one direction. So Pavanmuktasana stands for wind removing. So we're taking out some of the excess wind from the joints, or just really what I think of in the more fascial tradition, we're lubricating the joints. Let's go in the other direction. We're kind of softening and waking up the connective tissue that sits in the joints in the hyaline cartilage. And we're kind of opening up the channels of communication through the joint system, our proprioceptive system. All right, we're going to take right leg, and if this is accessible in your body, we're going to take it around behind. So now right knee greets your left foot. And from this home base, the invitation is to find some gentle twisting motions of your spine and back out again. So for me, I'm turning to the left. You can experiment with what is that range of motion in both directions, but I'm reaching right arm across my body toward the left, and explore how that feels across hip flexor, psoas, side body, armpit, fingertips. Again, let the breath be intuitive here. And one more like that. Beautiful. As we unwind from that deer shape, I'll invite you to take your right leg out long. Now, long might mean that you have a knee bend. Long might be a longer leg. You get to decide here. And now we're just greeting the right leg, greeting your very precious right leg, maybe all the way down to your foot. That for me requires the knee bend, okay? Giving your foot a little love. And just like we did the self-havening on the arms earlier, that self-applied touch, just awakening the sensory feedback system of your leg. Ah. How does it feel to sense where you begin and end in space? To give that touch to yourself. And remember, if there's anything that I'm ever offering and it doesn't feel right, just drop it, skip it. Always welcome to refine. Go ahead and come on up out of that side. And for a moment, an invitation to take both feet together. So now we're in like a Baddha Konasana in the yogic system, or a little cobbler's shape with the 2 feet together, and maybe just a slight leaning forward. In this leaning forward, you might lengthen your spine, find your breath. You might even bring your hands down. And I didn't say it earlier, but for my classes, I always love blocks. I think they're just friendly tools for our practice. Maybe you prop your elbows up on something and just let yourself pause in the middle. No goal to achieve, nowhere to be, other than right here, greeting yourself as you are. And then go ahead and come on up. And we'll find side 2. We'll even ourselves out a little bit. So this time, leaning into right hip to lift left leg and start to find those rotational movements. Left foot around your ankle. And the other direction. And then we're going to go shin around your knee. And the other way. So I've spent a lot of time this week with folks that have been in some acute states of trauma, having just lost houses or been in service of those who have. We're going to go ahead and take hand and foot, hand and knee, and perhaps you too have been in some acute loss and grief or trauma. And when we come into these joint rotations, it's about coming back to our senses, of letting your body know that at least in this moment, whatever it is that's happening out there in your world, at least in this moment, there's time and space to come back home to yourself, to take care of yourself, and to let go of some things that maybe aren't best serving you. We're going to go ahead and turn your leg, knee towards foot, to find ground again. So here in this deer shape, a little bit of a twisting, spine, hips, lengthening, reaching. And it's one of those shapes that as a home base, you're going to keep making it yours. You might find places of sensation where you pause, where you curl around it, you greet it, you give it a sound. And then coming back through, sending your left leg long or long-ish, and then getting to know what this side of your body is holding and is needing from you. When we walk through the world as the hero or heroine of our own story, we must remember that no hero navigates the challenges alone. We just don't. We need our team of allies. We need the resources from the world, from the people that are our sources of safety and calm and connection to help us navigate challenge. It's what helps us hold on to that vulnerability and that tenderness and that humility along the way. As you greet your leg, your foot, perhaps also sensing your legs as that connection to the ground, to the earth. And we'll find that a little bit as we come up into standing. Beautiful. Go ahead and come back to seated for a moment. And before we transition into the next phase of practice, just notice, what is it like for you to have engaged in some practices that have been kind of waking you up from head to toe through self-applied touch and breath and gentle movement? Can you sense a little bit more where you begin and end in space? And maybe you're beginning to sense a little bit more of what's being held within and what that's needing from you. Beautiful. I will invite you to go ahead and come over your shins. I'm going to turn on my mat and come on into a tabletop, hands under shoulders, knees under hips, and then another opportunity to let this just simply be the home base for your practice. You might go into cat-cow, you might find a shape that just feels like, oh, that's just right. That's helps me be aware of what tension I'm holding and send my breath there. Maybe you find a little C curve of your spine, one side and the other, greeting your side bodies. Ha. You might even find a little barrel roll. Stunning. And then if you're ready for some guided movement, if you'd like that, I'll invite you to take your left leg back and to find a few heel rocks here. This gentle rocking, sensing the calf, ankle, toes. And then listen carefully. This one is a little bit more of a kind of guided process for the brain. I'm going to invite you to walk your hands to the left so that now your left leg is out and you're on your right knee. And this is another beautiful place to just experiment for a moment. You can lean back, forward, greet the inside of your left leg, find the little micro movements that help you own this shape. I've been calling it water bug. You can give it your own name. And then from here, I'll invite you to walk your hands up for a gate pose. And gate invites you to lean to the left. And then just coming in and out. So sometimes when we're called by life's events, and maybe they happened yesterday or maybe they happened long ago in childhood, when we're called to step onto the path of the hero's journey, we resist the call. We go, oof, I don't know if I'm up for that, right? We avoid what we don't want to face. And at some point, we come to the gate. Some point, life says, if we don't cross over, we actually will stay stuck, we'll stay stagnant. So we're walking through the gate here. Come on through. If you'd like, I'll invite you to come up and over, taking your right hand down and keeping your left foot grounded. Maybe you reach your left arm up, maybe overhead, and just experiment in this shape. Beautiful place just to breathe into the whole length of your left side body. Maybe you even hover your left foot for a moment, right? Just play in the space. And then back around to tabletop. And a moment of free breath here, cat-cow if you'd like, or whatever integrates the left side movement we did. Before sending your right foot back, and a few heel rocks here. And then walking around to the right, and I'll go ahead and just turn so I'm facing you, but now it's right leg out and hands out in front, and another chance just to breathe into this little water bug shape on side two, inner line of your right leg. It can feel nice just to sense your foot, the shape you'd like of your foot in relationship to the floor. So we're essentially kind of moving energy in our yoga practice by sensing and feeling and letting those sensations guide you. Come on up. Let's find gate side two. So if you didn't feel ready to walk through the gate on side one, here's your chance. Come on around. And remember that that readiness for the hero is about having access to those resources, our team of allies, what it is that we need to bring with us as we enter the dark woods. Yeah. As we courageously face what Joseph Campbell referred to as the cave we fear to enter, come on around, left hand down, and right arm up or overhead. Feeling into your breath, the reach of your fingertips, the length of your side body. Oh, a sound. Ah. Mm. Beautiful. And then once again, it's simply right hand down and we meet back in that tabletop. And another moment to breathe and flow. Before greeting your first down dog, or maybe skipping it, right? Your practice, your body. So allowing yourself to perhaps find your way into a downward dog shape of the mat, pressing into hands, feet. Allowing yourself to lift through your hips, maybe walk it out through your legs. If you're wanting to stay in table, beautiful. If you want to rest in child's, beautiful. And then I'll invite you to take a little walk forward. Walk forward toward your hands, feet grounded, and finding a halfway lift, lengthening through your spine, crown of your head. And exhale to fold. And again, we're going to find two more halfway lifts, just finding that that connection to breath and movement. Inhale, lift, and exhale as you fold in. We're building a little vagal efficiency here, this capacity to know that we can build some of that ability to move between sympathetic and parasympathetic states smoothly, rhythmically. Next time, go ahead and inhale and press into your feet to come all the way up to standing, and allowing yourself just to sense and feel this new relationship to gravity. Wow, right, here we are. First time in this practice standing as a group together. Experimenting with how does it feel to have your legs beneath you, maybe a nice soft bend to your knees so that the joints don't get locked out again. And I'll invite you to find a little side bend here. Inhale, sweeping your arms, and exhale, reaching down to one side. And side bends you can always support with your hand. You can reach and lengthen with both arms. It just completely depends on you. Inhaling through center, and find a little side bend on the other side here. Lengthen, reach, ground. Inhale to lift. Let's do that again. And exhale to side one. Inhale. Gorgeous. Come on up. And on your next exhale, I'll invite you to take your hands into your back pockets. All right, we'll pretend we've got some jeans on, right, for a moment. Get your hands in your back pockets. And then with that support, the most gentle, loving lift of your heart, your gaze. Inhale here. And exhale, and as you dive forward, soft knees, and maybe your hands go all along the sides of your legs to reach down towards your feet or wherever they go, finding a halfway lift, lengthen here, and exhale. And on the exhale, I'll invite you to step your feet back, to bend both of your knees to the earth, and to find a knees, chest, chin as you slither down onto your yoga mat, if that's where you're choosing to practice. And then from this belly down shape, maybe taking a moment just to sense and feel that connection, navel to earth, coming into your instinctual body, and finding a few rolling cobras here as you press down, lifting through heart and gaze, and then lower on your exhale. So really finding how you want to breathe and move in this shape, and how much pressing into your hands, how much lift of your heart. It's completely up to you in these rolling cobras. You might even give it a little bit of a hiss. Good, and then let that go. Staying a little instinctual in our shapes, I'll invite you to send your feet outward, kind of turning your toes away from you, heels in, stacking your palms, and let your forehead rest onto your hands for a moment. This belly down breath in crocodile, close to the earth. You might even shift your hips a little side to side. And tune in. You might stay here, you might come along for the ride, sending your feet back behind, hands under your shoulders, pressing through table to downward facing dog. And another chance here to come into breath, movement, or stillness. And then gazing forward, hopping or stepping your feet to the front. And finding a halfway lift, inhale. Exhale to fold. And inhale all the way to standing. And exhale, samastitihi, palm to heart center, a prayer for equal standing for ourselves, for each other, for this world we share. Invitation from this shape is to step it out wide. So about legs width apart, 3 feet apart or so. And then allowing yourself to experiment with how does it feel in your body to take up some space. Maybe you let your arms come wide as well, finding a 5-pointed star. You can shake out through your hips if you'd like for a moment. And from here, I'll invite you to turn towards your left foot first. Your left toes are going to turn away. We're preparing for a warrior two base. And in this warrior two base, we've got kind of legs underneath us, nice and strong, opening up through your arms, maybe taking your gaze towards your left fingertips. But given that we're working with the home base of a shape and then making it yours, how does your body want to move from this home base? Maybe you reach away, you reach toward, you might be experimenting with moving between a reverse warrior, an extended side angle, a curling it in, and opening the shape. You might even lengthen through that left leg, reaching away, finding something like a trikonasana, a triangle. But it's your breath, your movement, and your body. So we'll call our warrior poses today our hero poses. And here we are, deep into our practice, and of elevating through the heart rate, the strength, the feeling of empowerment, and the knowing that you've got this, right? The courage that it takes to engage in a practice as you relate to challenge, to difficulty, to loss. And maybe you're doing bed asana, right? Maybe that's your warrior shape today. Perfectly welcome, just as strong. Let's go ahead and find our way back to that 5-pointed star. Beautiful. Take up that space. And let's find it on side 2. This time, right toes come out, bending through your right knee, and just a little bit in and out. And then make it yours. You're off. Right? Sometimes the shapes have a kind of known quality to them, and sometimes it's, wow, I didn't even know that was a yoga pose, but boy, does that feel good for me today. Perfect. That's how yoga was discovered. Stunning. Ah, the sound, right? Let it all be here, all of you. And then when you feel even, we meet in 5-pointed star. And We're going to descend right back down to the earth. Meeting in downward dog. We've got one more shape each side in this series, and then we'll take it down into a restful shape. Our last shape here is to inhale your right leg back and exhale forward and through into a low lunge. Now, you get to make this yours. I personally love blocks in this one. And then just like we were doing a moment ago, you can come in and out of the lunge for a breath or two. And perhaps not a surprise, there's an invitation to come into dragon pose. Now, for our purposes, no, we are not literally slaying a dragon, right? In fact, for those of you that are dragon lovers, here we go. Dragon pose is an invitation to turn toward your right leg. Your hands go on the inside of right leg, right foot can turn out, and you're breathing into your left hip flexor, left psoas, as you lift through your heart and turn towards your right leg. Now, this is plenty. There's a lot right here. You might even be on the highest side of a block. And maybe you reach around and catch a dragon by the toe. Your right hand is reaching for left foot, not necessary, or maybe you just move in that direction. In whatever form of this shape you're taking, there's a heart opening and a psoas opening. We're finding that courageous hero's heart, right? The ability to open our hearts, which melts. What does the dragon represent? The inner critic, the tormenting that happens within us. And we're melting that with the open heart. We're softening out of our defenses. Our own dragon nature gets to melt. We don't need to breathe fire on anyone, right? And go ahead and come on out of this side. Find your way back to a downward dog or a table, or if you want, a child's pose between sides. And we'll make our way into side two. This time it's left leg that lifts, and exhale forward and through. And then your version in and out, greeting left side, your left leg, your right hip flexor. And this is plenty, right? For those of you who, when we go into that dragon, feels like, oh, that's a lot of a stretch, I'm not ready to open that much. You take your time and you return to this practice. It'll be recorded. You can come back and do it again and make your way in as it feels right for you. If you're coming along for the dragon ride, go ahead and walk your left foot out, hands on the inside, and then breathing into right hip flexor, right psoas. This is plenty. You might begin to turn and lift your heart, your gaze. How does your breath soften your defenses? Find ease in your jaw. Maybe send your breath all the way down to your tailbone. Maybe you catch a dragon by the toe. How do we keep our hearts open in a world that's hurting, that sometimes feels broken? And remember that we need each other to remind us how to do that with kindness and care and compassion. Stay there as long as you like, whenever you are ready. Coming back through down dog. Lowering your knees. And an option to come to pause, and I'm aware of time. We'll go just a few minutes and then we'll take it down. Just a moment to pause and sense. Sensing your heartbeat, sensing your aliveness. And then I'll invite you to choose your closing shape. You are welcome to stay seated in a quiet meditation. You're welcome to go into Shavasana. Curl everything into a tight ball for a moment if you do so before opening up into Shavasana. Maybe you like legs up the wall. And these last few moments of our practice are that invitation to come back home and sense what's present for you now. What is it that allows you to take hold of life like a face, to hold it between your palms, to allow this plain face, no charming smile, no violet eyes, and to simply say, yes, I will take you. I will love you again. Now, I'll encourage you to stay in your Shavasana longer. At this stage, we would normally stay quite a bit longer and just linger in honoring of our time in our community. I will invite us to take a more formal close. I really just want to thank you for devoting your time to yourself today, for your practice, and thank you for trusting me to be your guide. So, get us back into gallery. Hi, everybody.
That was wonderful. I know I found my way from my chair to my mat and knew even more than I knew today. So thank you so much. I know there were some questions about Arielle's books as well. I'm going to put a link to her website where you can find all of her books. You can also find them at Polyvagal Institute's bookstore. Thank you so much all for joining us today. And don't forget, we have another New Year's Journey of Self-Care event next Wednesday, January 21st, 1 to 2 Eastern, where we will host a community sing-along to support nervous system regulation with Jana Vind.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Tuesday, yes.
Tuesday, and I'll second that. I got a chance, and I know several of us here were with her in Potsdam and had the opportunity to sing with her. I was just like tears rolling. It was so beautiful. So if you have the chance, even if you can't attend live, to catch the recording, it's so worth signing up for that one too.
Thank you so much, Arielle, for your time today. And thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you. So for those of us that want to come practice again, my next Saturday morning class that you can sign up for on my website is March 1st. It's a little ways out because I've got a lot of trainings between now and then. Some of you I'll see at those trainings in between. And then before we close out, let's just do a little, again, kind of ventral group hug. So just a wave, a jazz hands, get yourself in gallery if you're not there, and just allow yourself to feel the allies that we have on this hero's journey that we are taking together, apart together. Thank you. All right, Jerry, I'm going to invite everyone to unmute. We can do a kind of little vocal goodbye before we close out.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you very much,
Bye.
Arielle.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Bye-bye.
Beautiful. Bye, everybody.
Same.
Bye.
Adios.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
You.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful
Thank you.
practice.
Merci.